Good evening. My name is Sandy Hawk, and I'm a school board member acting as the coach or the chair this year. I want to thank you for taking the time to come this evening. We are trying to learn by our mistakes. In 2015, we did a referendum that enormously failed. We looked at what we had done and do we want to keep moving forward with that plan, or do we want to learn by our mistakes? So we chose to learn by our mistakes and listen this time. Instead of thinking we knew what we were doing, we listened and we asked people's opinions. At that time, we formed a task force, which were community members, retired people, business people, people that had kids in our district, people that didn't have kids in our district. We wanted to hear what they thought we should do and moving forward. And so that's when a task force was started in 2016. And we wanted, one of the things that they addressed first was, of course, the safety and security of our buildings. That was their top priority. They wanted to also look at 21st century learning. They also were able to go to other schools and tour other schools and see what they have to offer. And that is how we're moving forward. And next will be Lindsay Leach.
Hello, thank you for coming this evening. To add on to what Sandy said, after the task force was formed in 2016, the district decided to survey our community about the concerns and to gauge community interest and support for another referendum. The number one concern, as Sandy mentioned, was safety and security of our buildings. That was the number one priority of the task force. Came back to us as a school board and said we need to address. With that being said, we had to move forward and hire an architect firm and a construction management firm. So in 2018, the school board hired JLG as our architect and Comstock as our construction management firm. We have been blessed to work with these companies. They are both local companies and have been available to address any of our concerns and changing needs of this referendum. After many discussions as a school board and with administration, it was decided to bring the task force back together and share our vision of bringing our elementary schools together. The task force overwhelmingly supported this plan of bringing the elementary school to Dilworth and the middle school and high school to be located in Glyndon. Next, Amy Johnson will continue.
Hi, I'm Amy Johnson. I'm on the school board. Just to expound off of what Lindsay has been speaking about, after we had brought forward our idea of putting the elementary schools together in Dilworth and bringing middle school and high school into Glyndon, we did then survey the public, and overwhelmingly through the surveys that we received back, they were in support of changing the elementary into Dilworth and like the middle school and high school into Glyndon. And then over 90% of the staff supported option B as well. We also held many just informational things outside of sporting events since last spring. We would have boards up with our different options that we had available. And even in those public, at those opportunities, many people supported Plan B as well. We feel presently with our administration and our school board that our vision for our school is in alignment, and the primary focus for our referendum is addressing the safety and security piece that the task force had asked the public about prior, after the last failed referendum, what their priorities were. Also education delivery and functionality, and then addressing enrollment capacity.
Hi, I'm David Dilworth, and I'm on the school board as well. And I just wanted to thank everyone for coming here. It's really important that we have public participation. It's important that you're all here. And just so you understand, the purpose of tonight is not to persuade you one way or the other, but to provide information. So that really is our focus, is to provide you information about what is being proposed. Mr. Marquardt has some students here that are going to help, and they're going to be walking around and passing out cards if you have questions. And then the kids will help us in asking those questions. And we really thank Mr. Marquardt and the students for helping us out here tonight, because really helps facilitate this program. So thank you again for coming, and if you've got questions, make sure you get them answered. So I think we are gonna, if you have questions, now's a good time. We're a small group here, so we don't have to be shy. I was gonna joke and have everyone move down to the front, but we won't do that. This isn't church. So, but students are passing out cards, and we will get some questions answered. I don't know if anybody else has something to add about the project. At the outset, I know we have some folks here that in the administration that might be able to give you a little bit more information.
If you look on this flyer that was available at each of the entrances there, you'll see a little bit more what we mean when we talk about safety and security, what that actually looks like. Those are some bullet points that are helpful to review. When we talk about equity and alignment, a big piece of that is reconfiguring our grade levels and where they are located. Our elementary would be at one site right now, which would be Dilworth, and that would be pre-K through 4, whereas the middle school would move into what currently now is the Glyndon Felton Elementary, with some updates and needed enhancements for the middle school, and the high school would currently stay where it is, with a access to a career center, which is also shared with you on this handout. In addition to that, we have the 21st century learning environment. That's really looking at more STEAM opportunities for our kids, tech opportunities, collaborative and flexible learning spaces, and update the media learning centers at both sites. So again, the project highlights the main things that were identified were safety and security, equity and alignment, and 21st century learning environments.
I'll just add to the safety and security, speaking from the elementary standpoint especially, doesn't necessarily mean what you're going to see inside the building, but outside the building as well. If you look at both the Glyndon site and the Dilworth site, in the morning, it gets a little hectic. We have them crossing the streets and things like that. By bringing them all to one site in the way that we have it configured, it will go a lot smoother in the mornings than it is right now. Also, we look at the equity of teachers. What that looks like is it's even pulling our resources, having everybody in one site, equal opportunities for everyone, and just making it a little bit easier to navigate through the day of our elementary students.
So also on your flyer, you're going to see on the right-hand side of the front page the project costs, and there are two buckets that you see there: voter approved costs and board approved costs. The voter approved cost is what will be voted on. The board approved cost is something that the board can do. And there are good reasons why we have split that up. The idea is to maximize the aid that we get from the state. And we've taken that aid and been able to look at our future building costs. We get aid from the state, long-term facility maintenance, LPFM. Brian is not here tonight, so you're not going to get showered with a lot of numbers, but we'll do our best in his absence. We do have people here too to answer some of these questions. Michael Heisel here is from Baird. Has helped us out with a lot of crunching of the numbers, and he'll be more than happy to answer questions regarding the finances. But the idea on the way that's broken down is that what we're doing with the long-term funding or the maintenance funds is to advance that cost, because we're going to have fewer costs with an updated, improved school. And by doing that, we're not going to increase taxes on that amount because we get that aid anyway. So that's part of that $9 million that you see there. And if you look at the total tax impact, we were really helped out by the Ag to School credit for the agricultural community. And we thank Paul Mark for really spearheading that at the legislature. It was really critical and really has helped keep the cost of the taxes down for the agricultural property. And you can see we've got some averages on there, estimated market value for homes, but really the best way to do this is to go to the school's website and look at the tax calculator. It is right on the school's website, www.dgfk12.mn.us. It's right on here. And you can, if you know your property number, you can look and find out what your taxes would be. And we put that together so that everyone understands what their tax increase would be. So I think we are ready for some questions.
Yeah. How many students go to your school, go to the school?
Right now we have between 1,600 and 1,700 students. That's about, I think, just under 1,700.
That includes Dilworth and Glyndon?
Yeah, the entire district, and that also includes students that are open enrolled into the district.
How will new improvements help create a better learning environment for our students?
Could you repeat the question?
How will these new improvements help create a better learning environment for our students?
I think I will pass this on to the administrators. We'll give this over to Heidi quickly.
So the question, how will the new improvements help the learning environment? I think the biggest thing is it takes us away from being behind the 8 ball. It puts us on an equal playing field so we can offer the things. 21st century learning is obviously a key term that you're going to hear throughout. But it allows us the flexible space that we need, the classroom space, and more importantly, the infrastructure and the opportunities to expand on the technological needs that we need as well. So I think it just kind of brings us up to, we give our students the same opportunities as the other schools in the area.
I think moving the middle school over to the Glyndon site allows us to work together with the high school in offering, whether it's technology or STEAM activities, access to some of the events that they have over there. For example, the College and Career Fair. It really allows us to work together in alignment for grades 5 through 8. For example, we can share a math teacher, we can share a science teacher, if need be, if the numbers are where they need to be. It's a lot more flexible. In addition to that, for grades 9 through 12, the Career Academy, the Career Center that we will be working with Moorhead is going to open up opportunities for our students. I'm really excited about that, whether it's in the health fields or well-being or other opportunities like that. They're still defining exactly what that will look like. Right after the M&A break, there will be a flyer that will be coming out from Moorhead and DGF together that will provide more information about what that career center will look like. So again, I think like Mr. O'Keefe said, opening up opportunities for our students, catching up, getting them ready for the 21st century skills that they need.
Okay. I just wanted to add one more thing to that. As far as when our elementary schools would be combined, I don't know if some of you out there have had students where your kids have been a bubble, but one of my kids was always that bubble class. And so they would start and it's like, I don't know, are they going to have 4 sections? They're going to have 5? They don't know. And then they start, and then 2 weeks into it, nope, we have more students, and so now we have to add a new teacher, and then some of the kids are pulled out into another class, and that's frustrating. Kids kids are so much more flexible than us parents. But, you know, for us parents, it's not so convenient. Kids can kind of roll with it. But when we look at having all of the elementary teachers in one location, we don't have to worry about those bubble classes anymore, because you will have all of that particular grade level at that site. And so we don't have like 22 at one site and 14 at another site. You'd be able to have all that collaboration with your first grade teachers, your second grade teachers, your third grade teachers, fourth grade, all of those in elementary school would have that collaboration time and be a team. And so it's not them and us, because we are a unit. We need to move beyond that Dilworth locomotive, Glyndon, Felton Buffaloes, because we have been rebels for far too long to keep that division going.
Okay. How is DGF planning to address the labor force shortages in technical and manufacturing jobs?
I think I'll speak to that. The Career and Technical Academy that is going to be happening in Moorhead will be a collaboration in all of Clay County. That's what the hope is. And I think it is so important for these students to have opportunities that are not a four-year program. Being a welder, doing automotive, culinary, CNA, I think that this technical institute will help our students decide, do they want to do a 2-year track or a 4-year track? And it's so important to give children those options. Schools cost so much money, 4-year educations are astronomical, and you know, kids, there's many hands-on learners. And I come from a family where my dad was a technical person, and tech school is for him. And I just think our kids and students deserve that opportunity.
So just briefly, I wanted to add something to that. You may think, well, you know, with the Career Academy, why would we just keep that in Dilworth? And one of the things that really creates a great opportunity for us is to work with Moorhead and the other schools in Clay County, is that a lot of times it's really difficult to find these kinds of teachers. We've seen that certainly in the last year, since I've been on the board, and I'm sure I've seen heads nodding previous to the time I've been on the board. By collaborating with Moorhead and other schools in Clay County, we have the opportunity to share those resources so that we don't have to have one dedicated source just for shop or for try to find somebody that can cover a lot of different areas. We can really have more offerings for the kids. So it really creates a tremendous opportunity for the students here at DGF. So really, it's something we're very excited about. It is going to happen. And so I think, Heidi, did you have something to add to that? Okay.
If this bond issue is approved, how long will it be before another building bond referendum is needed?
So right now, we're looking at each grade level would be able to be at 150 residential units. So kids in our district. So we're looking at, we have 100 right now is about our average of our kids in our district. So that would be 50 more students per grade level. So you'd be 50 more first graders, for example, 50 more second graders. So for every residential student that we have coming into our district, the board has passed an open enrollment policy where we start to decrease the number of students that we have come into our district, because we want to be able to serve the kids in our district, not the open enrolled ones. If there's not room for them,
As a new resident, can you elaborate?
Okay, just 1 second.
I'm sorry. So that would be, we're looking at 20 years is when we look at the scale where we would be. So this would be 20 years.
As a new resident, can you elaborate on specifically how this referendum is different from the last one? And can we introduce the whole panel again? As a new resident, can you elaborate on specifically how this referendum is different from the last one?
Well, I would like to personally speak from the last one. I was a board member at that last one, that we did not ask the community their input, in my opinion. We felt that we knew best and learned that we certainly did not know best. That, you know, do you want to keep repeating those mistakes or go forward? And we thought that is what you need to do, is you need to listen to the people who are paying the bucks to get this done. We're all community members, we're all taxpayers, and everyone has as much right to be heard. And we took that opportunity to take that initiative and form the task force, listen to what everyone wants to do, move forward with that. So again, I'm Sandy Hawk, I'm the board chair. Next to me is Lindsay Leach, vice chair, Amy Johnson, David Ellertson, Heidi Pritchley is next, Joe O'Keefe is there, and Dan is there, and Dan is from JLG.
Just briefly on the question, how does this differ? I mean, I think there's several different points that are different from the last referendum. On the cost side, I think certainly with the Egg to School credit for the agriculture community, this makes this project a lot more palatable. And so we really have a great opportunity to do this now. And I think also with the realignment of the grades, bringing the elementary kids all in one location also provides what we thought was a good opportunity to level those classes so we don't have a disparity in classes. And I think we're utilizing the space that we have. That is, we're not creating a new building. We're largely staying within the borders of the walls of the school. And the reason that's important, the age of your school determines how much long-term facility maintenance funds you get. And by staying within our, largely within our walls and doing more remodeling, we're going to be able to get more aid for the long-term maintenance. So that's also a difference, I think, from the last referendum.
I don't know how much detail you want from the last one, but it's completely different. They were, I don't know if you want those details or not, but if you're familiar with where Dilworth is at, the Bob Marshall baseball diamond would have been turned into a pre-K center in grade second, I think. And then they were discussing putting the athletic complex north of that, which actually is Moorhead School District. I mean, that's kind of the big one that stands out, that they were going to build a pre-K for second grade in Dilworth, but not consolidate the elementary. So it would be Dilworth kids that would be going to that. So.
I think some of the highlights of this new plan is we have a meeting. Well, obviously safety and security, but not many people are aware unless you have a child in school, but our cafeteria and serving lines are very inadequate. We try to push through, I think per grade, they get about 15 minutes. That is about 15 minutes to have lunch. So imagine getting classes through that quickly. So what would be nice during this plan is that in Dilworth, the current multi-purpose gym would actually be a designated cafeteria. We'd expand the kitchen over there, and we would have 3 serving lines. In Glyndon, we would add to the cafeteria here. The current cafeteria would be repurposed into a junior high, middle school, or junior high or middle school media center. And then we would expand and build a brand new cafeteria that would also, I believe, still have the 3 serving lines. But it would be much more efficient, and our students would have time to sit down and have their lunch instead of just kind of being pretty quickly. Yeah. But currently we serve lunch very early in the morning, 10:30. Also in this plan, if you look at the Glyndon site, we would be fortunate enough to gain 2 brand new science labs. And if anybody's walked through our building and taken a look at our science lab, they're very outdated. So that would definitely enhance our 21st century learning for our students and more STEAM and STEAM opportunities. Maybe, or Joe, do you want to talk about any of the stickers?
I'm just going to expand a little bit on the science labs. So right now at the middle school, we had to take our science lab and turn it into a 6th grade classroom that houses our 6th grade teacher and students. We also, because of the number of students we have in the middle school, we can have common passing times or common start times for our grade level classes. So you might have, you will never have the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders during the day transitioning at the same time. What that also does, though, is it takes away the time for the 7th and 8th grade to be able to adequately use the only lab that is at the Dilworth site. So that 7th and 8th grade students get very limited time in the lab because it's used for a 6th grade classroom, because it doesn't work just to switch because of the times that they don't line up. So they've significantly lost that due to us needing to convert that to a classroom due to numbers.
Will there be an expansion on the theater to accommodate for future classes who will be bigger?
Unfortunately, there's no way to tweak this theater. If it would have been built this direction, we could have been able to go south, but because the direction that it is, there is not. But in this plan, we would be adding on up here above us, and so all the sound center would be up here, and all the lights would be accessible up there. So you would have more seating, more handicap accessible. So anyway, there would be that, I don't know, they call it a catwalk, I think. They would build a catwalk up on there, and that would be the only way that we could add on to the theater.
And also moving forward, we've also talked about the possibility of when there's a larger performance in here, so many times, so often, parents need to take their young children out. We would be looking at putting television screens outside of both entrances, so it could be recorded and live streamed out there if someone needed to step out so they could watch the performance still happening while they're out attending with their younger children.
Also for the middle school, if you look on the plans, there is a, the elementary gym that's over at the Glyndon Felton site would be transformed into a performing arts center, which I am excited about because it would allow us to have band and choir and practice rooms that would more adequately meet our needs for our music program at the middle school level. So I see that as an enhancement because we are the theater program for the high school. Another thing, with us moving over to the Glyndon site, we would be able to participate more in theater arts programs. Right now, we do 1 or 2 a year, and I'd love to see an expansion of that. Right, we don't have a theater at the Dilworth site, so we would be able to access this theater for those type of things. And I really think that would be a benefit for our students.
And one thing to add, if you look at your map where it has the middle school and high school, so if you come to a theater performance, you come to basketball, volleyball, any of those type of activities, you would be coming into one main entrance over by the parking lot. There would be bathrooms there, there's concession stands there. And the beautiful thing with this plan is that will close off all of the hallways to anything. You will have just the access coming into your theater, your courts, that type of stuff. But you know, if you've ever come here for basketball, wrestling, any of that stuff, kids are running up and down the hallways, and there could be other people up and down those hallways checking out places. This would not be accessible anymore. This is the big security piece that we have that would be blocking that off. So So people do not have the accessibility anymore.
Explain what makes up board-approved costs and what makes up voter-approved costs.
Mike.
We're gonna have Mike Fullhazel answer that. I think that's probably the best route since Brian's not here.
I'd like to just give you a little thing. Brian is under the weather. He is not with us tonight for medical reasons. So.
Good evening. I'm not used to being under the bright lights. I'm used to being up front. I'm not used to being in bright lights, and usually at this time of night, I'm yelling at 8th graders on the football team. So it's my pleasure not to have to yell at them tonight. I believe the easiest way to describe the difference between the voter-approved portion and the school board-approved portion is legislatively, several years ago, about 2015, a group of school districts came forward and said, hey, there's 20-some school districts in the state that have the ability to take care of almost all their deferred maintenance needs. And through a process that was phased in over a couple of years, every school district in the state is able to utilize what was referred to earlier as long-term facility maintenance program. So it's long-term facility maintenance revenue. That revenue today, as it got phased in, memory serves me, we're about 190, 290, and then we're at $380 per pupil unit right now. So utilizing that $380 per pupil, the school district has the ability to utilize those dollars on an annual basis for deferred maintenance needs. There are a few needs that are placed above that, meaning they can do like-for-like projects, but if you have indoor air quality needs, if you have fire suppression, if you have cleaning out of dangerous chemicals, those needs, if you spend $100,000 or more per site, can also be funded under this mechanism. So that batch of needs that I believe legislatively they talked about when they were bringing up this concept is, these aren't sexy to the voters. Trying to bring in fresh air to students and faculty isn't sexy for the voters. They don't want to vote on that, they'll turn it down. So the reason they did it legislatively is we need to maintain our infrastructure across the state for education purposes. So part of that is they provide state aid differently for that component, and they're hard to bracket out. So hopefully that explains the long-term facility maintenance portion. That portion is about $9 million of the plan. The remainder of the $31 million is voter approved. That's all the stuff that isn't a like-for-like transition. You probably wouldn't qualify. Some of it might, but probably all wouldn't qualify as being deferred maintenance needs. It's new needs, new construction, remodeling or redoing a classroom, changing a wall is always considered new in the eyes of the Minnesota Department of Education. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that definition. It's not exactly clear cut, but it's the best we can offer to you with a short answer.
Mike,
yes.
Can you just explain it? What part is paid from the state versus what part comes from voters?
Absolutely. So a portion of that $380 is made up of state aid. So $380 per pupil. I forget, it's somewhere around 57%, something like that, is picked up by the states. We're maximizing those dollars. So we're not levying for the whole $380 per kid. We get a piece of that from the state. And then we're very close to the threshold for where we're collecting some state aid and the voter approved as well. So we're trying to maximize both those pots of money. As the district grows in tax-based wealth and its students, you will go down that continuum whether or not you receive aid and how much you receive aid. The more students you have versus how wealthy you are as a tax base, determines that percentage of aid according to the various equalization formulas provided by the state.
Mike, what effect will it have on the taxes? I think that's kind of the bottom line, maybe.
But the bottom line is that if the district grows its number of kids and the tax base, let's say the enrollment grows faster than the tax base, then you'll get a larger share of state aid. If the tax base grows faster than the students, you will get a less of state aid. However, the new tax base coming in will balance, and it should keep your taxes flat, if not going down. So I believe if you were a $200,000 home the last 6, 7 years, I think you've had a high of $791 of school portion of taxes, and I think you've seen a low of $681. So we've had about a $110 fluctuation in the last 5 years in your school portion of taxes. That's because you are a growing community and you've grown in tax base.
And so these are taxes people are already paying?
Correct.
How many years would it take to pay off the bonding?
First term, the IQ portion, we have a 10-year term and a 20-year term on 2 pieces, and the school board approved, or the voter approved, is 22 years. Now, rates are a little bit better when we put this together in May. So if these rates continue to stay in that high 2s, low 3s range for all these various borrowings, we might be able to shave this down to 20 years apart. So we're really trying to get to 20, 21 years.
Can you describe the performing arts suite in more detail?
So for the middle schoolers, we would have the band and choir both in that area, in addition to our art class, our art room. And we would be able to have practice rooms and up-to-date facilities for the students. So it would allow us to do some significant changes regarding really updating, having those 2 content areas together and being able to offer some individual opportunities for students regarding lessons, and both in band and choir, and the teachers being able to work together better, because right now they're on opposite end of the building, and so that will also allow for that.
So there's 2 questions with this. Will busing times allow grade school students traveling from Glyndon to Dilworth enough time for breakfast? And how will title services be affected?
I'd answer that. I remember the second one, so can I answer that one first? Title services, as we said, the whole equity piece. Right now we have our title services split between Glyndon, Felton Elementary and Dilworth Elementary. So what that's going to do is bring them all into one site. So we're going to be able to like pool the resources and meet the needs of a lot more kids. As far as buses traveling over to, as far as serving breakfast and stuff, remember we actually had a hiccup with that this year. And if you look out on Park Avenue, that's the reason why we're having to go alternate routes. And it's costing us 10 to 15 minutes to get some of the kids that come over there. You take that out, and currently they can do that right now. So will they be able to, once we get this? Absolutely. Especially with a dedicated space, when you look at the plan for that cafeteria, things will be set up. So as soon as students come in, they can be served. If we come in a couple bus loads at a time, they can be served, because we'll be able to handle that traffic flowing out. So both will be enhanced immensely.
Joe,
Thank you. I just wanted to throw in too, kiddos can eat breakfast at either site, and we will be putting bus aids on the buses for the kiddos that transfer from here to there, for those elementary kids too.
That was Margaret Hula. She's the Glyndon Felton Elementary principal.
So what are the renovations to the current new gym in Glyndon, and will it still be usable for tournaments?
The high school gym that we currently have will continue to be a gym. We'll probably utilize it during the day for our middle school kids, for their gym activities and whatnot. It will largely remain the same. I do believe they're going to add an area for dance specifically as the multi-purpose room. Okay, so our dance girls will be able to use that at the end of the day for their practices. And then we will have a new competition court gym, which will be capacity of about how much? And then that will be the main gym that we use for our high school athletic sports in the evenings, and then our high school kids will utilize that throughout the day for their gym classes.
Is the 268 number for the per acre cost for non-homestead acreage? Is the 268 the number for the per acre cost for the non-homestead agriculture land?
Yes.
Yes.
That's assuming a assessed value of $4,000.
Yeah.
How will the tax increase affect businesses specifically?
I think Mike might be able to answer, but my understanding is businesses generally get taxed twice the rate of residential property. And so their taxes would be essentially, the increase would be twice the increase that individuals have.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think the best way to do how you're impacted is go ahead and use that website tax calculator. It's got two pieces of it. One, if you know your property identification number, it allows you to look it up, or it has a link that allows you to look up your property identification number. So you can see exactly what that impact would be to that business.
All right, I have quite a few, so bear with me. What is the benefit of moving the elementary to Dilworth?
I think great question. Once again, I think it provides the equity for, and we refer to the staff, so we're all having the same class sizes, but more importantly, it's equity for the students. They're all getting access to the same thing. So by moving them there, we can, just our daily offerings, how we go through a lunchroom, how we offer FIED, the gym space. When there's weather outside, we're not sitting in a hallway, reading a book, or nothing wrong with reading a book, but I mean, they're not getting their exercise. So this is going to provide opportunities for us to conduct business as usual. Everyone's on the same page and things like that. So the enhancements and what we'll bring to them and how they see it, the media center, the shared learning spaces, things like that. And the safety and security getting into our buildings, the playgrounds outside. So by doing this, we're able to offer a lot of things, and all the students are going to get offered the same. They're going to have those same opportunities.
And I think I would just add too that having all the elementary students together avoids situations where we have high school and elementary kids in the same space. It's just generally better for the elementary kids, I think, to not that we have bad high school students, but it is just, they're at a different level.
I think the other thing too that I like about it is right now we have kids that are transitioning so much. We have students that went to Dilworth Elementary going over to 5th grade for 1 year and then coming back to the middle school and then going to the high school. Or we have kids that go to Glyndon Felton Elementary that stay there through 5th grade and then come to the middle school and then go back to the high school. So all of our students will have the same educational experience. And as somebody who gets them all in 6th grade, it would be wonderful to be assured that they have the same alignment and equitable education when they reach the middle school level.
And I'll touch on one other thing. When you look at it, the city of Glyndon, as far as removing the elementary out of Glyndon and combining it over at the Dilworth site, and there's questions on, well, now they're riding a bus and it's going to be new to our elementary kids. Remember, right now, currently, the number of students that don't ride a bus in Glyndon is literally a handful of students. Otherwise, all of our students from the greater areas and in town are getting on a bus anyway. I mean, so that won't be anything new. It'll be an additional 7 minutes. So when we look at the logistics of that too, that would be the most feasible and easy transition for them to do so. So look at that as well.
What is the ratio of classes or grades in the Dilworth school versus the Glyndon school?
In the elementaries, currently we range from that 19 to 1, 22 to 1, things like that. Remember when we talked about the policies in place, anything 19 to 1, we do not accept anyone open enrolled. And we can go on and we can talk about the residential growth versus how we no longer bring in open enroll until we fill our 19 to 1. So they vary from site to site. But right now, I think in most of our grades, we're pretty much capped at our 19 to 1. That doesn't mean we can't go over that with residential students, but we're not taking anyone else in. We might have a couple, I don't think we have any grades at Dilworth, but right around that 19 to 1 on average. Now, there might be a class or two over at the Glyndon site that's 17 to 1. I don't think it goes much less than that. You have it off the top of your head, but we're sitting at about 19. But all right, we've got it. I'm trying to break your phone. All right, so kindergarten, 5 sections in Dilworth, we're at about 19.2 to 1. Ratio Glyndon, there's 2 sections, 21 to 1. First grade, we have 4 sections, 71 students, so we're at 17.75 to 1 and 17.5 to 1 over at Glyndon with 2 sections. In second grade, we have 5 sections over at the Dilworth site, currently 91 students, which puts us at a little over 18 to 1. And at the Glyndon site, 42 students, which puts us at 21 to 1. In third grade, 4 sections, 84 students, 21 to 1. The Glyndon site is at 44, so that would be 22 to 1. And in 5th grade, 139 students here at Glyndon Felton Elementary, which is 6 sections, and that's currently 23. They were both same. 4th grade also is 84 students, which is 21 to 1. Glyndon, 34 students, which is 17 to 1.
Why is a new gym needed?
Early on, the task force recognized that we did not have adequate gym space in both facilities. I'm going to point out the Glyndon site, or the Dilworth site specifically. We have 1 2-station gym in Dilworth, and our multi-purpose gym is currently only able to be utilized for gym. How many periods a day, Joe? The Dilworth multi-purpose gym.
They take a 3-hour break in the middle of our day.
Yeah, so we only have like 4 hours of programming. a day that we're able to utilize that gym in Dilworth, because for the 3 hours during the day, we need to be serving lunch out of that gym. So the new gymnasium to be added over in Dilworth is very critical to being able to serve these kids in a timely manner for lunch. And then over in the Glyndon site, since we would be converting the old gymnasium in the Glyndon Elementary into a fine arts space, we would need another gymnasium to hold gym classes for high schoolers, with the middle schoolers utilizing the old gym directly behind the finger here.
One of the things that I'd like to share is that having the gym space that we have or don't have over Dilworth significantly impacts our programming and class offerings. For example, I think they start getting set up for lunch at about 10:30 in the morning, and they also serve breakfast in that. So I think the elementary starts their first class at 8:35 in there, because they have to get it cleaned up after having breakfast, and then they need to set up again for lunch at about 10:35, because the middle schoolers start coming in there at 10:50, and we are in there, we middle schoolers get from 10:50 till 11:36, and we have 390 students with one serving line. So if you ever want to see a really loud, full gym full of middle schoolers, I invite you to come help you lunch from supervision with me. It's a lot of fun. But in addition to that, when we have the elementary students in there, when they leave, they have to clean it up again and get ready for physical education class. And what that does is it impacts our middle school programming a lot, because we have 3 periods a day, essentially 3 47-minute periods a day for 390 students that we are able to offer physical education courses for. And that also affects our master schedule, because we have to we have to form our schedule around our lunch and fire and music times. And in that, we would love to do some block scheduling and some other creative things, but we're very limited due to the size and the availability of the gyms.
And also at both sites with the gyms, I mean, they're utilized as our bus lines, which makes those basically unusable till at least that 3:45 mark, and then we've got to run a broom on it. Already this year at the Dilworth site, we have had to combine a Phi-Ed class with one of our elementary classes for that very same reason, how we can't get them in there soon enough because we have to quick tear down. So the plan would allow for that to be a dedicated space. And also, if any of you have had, kids in any community ed programs and things like that, I currently do. We're practicing at 9 o'clock, and it's not because we want them to. That's the only time. I mean, if you look at our gym usage now, it is crazy. And Tracy does a fantastic job of keeping the schedules on those. But we have a very high usage. We have a very active community. So reality is, I could fill an additional gym, to be very honest with you. We have that much usage, so it'd be really nice if, for a lot of our varsity programs, especially for them to be able to practice from that 3:30 till 6 and then just go home instead of have to go home and then come back at 6, especially in the winter months to get their practice in too, to kind of alternate. So we would have a lot less of that, it'd be a lot usable. We definitely fill them up.
How do you plan to accommodate the extra elementary students on the already small playground in Dilworth?
In the plans, the playground currently on the north side of the school gets moved to the south side of the school. If you go, the area of that we're losing and what we're gaining is actually slightly larger on the back side. And it may not look so because you've got the green space, but having all the elementary at one spot in Dilworth, it's going to allow for like ages, I guess that's the best way, classes to actually be out and play with like ages. We're not going to have kindergartners out there with 4th graders and things like that. we're going to be able to set up that schedule where they can go out there and play with kids their own age. The space will be virtually the same, just maybe in a different shape, but we'll be able to reconfigure the playground equipment that we have and move it back there and make it very accessible. So.
Joe, also, if the security around the playground.
And the fence, it'll be fenced area. Yeah, where the current, if anyone's from Dilworth, where we currently, a lot of the kids get dropped off on the south side, that will all be fenced in. They're safe.
And oftentimes, do the kids go from lunch to recess? So they'll be directly right?
They'll come in, right now the way it's set up is recess and lunch. They'll go to recess and then they'll come in and the lunchroom will be set up right there for them. So we can just bring right in, bring the new group up with some slight overlap, so, yeah.
And if you notice on the Glyndon plans, it would be to the west of the building. We will be moving a playground, so there will still be a playground at the Glyndon Felton site for the 5th grade students as they still require recess. So there's a designated blue box on the west side of the building. If you're looking at the plans, just for those wondering about the 5th graders, there will still be a playground that's accessible to the students and the community.
And we're keeping the 5th graders at the middle school now, combining them with 5th through 8th grade. The 5th grade will continue to have the same model that they've always had, as far as I want it to be. They will have two rooms that they go between. So my boys were in 5th grade last year, and so they had 2 teachers, Mrs. Lauer and Mr. Johnson was one. But anyway, so they will not follow the middle school model where you have 6 different teachers throughout the day. They will continue to have those 2 classrooms that they go between, and then they also will get to continue to have a recess.
In addition to that, we hope to offer some things to our 5th graders that maybe they don't have access to right now. Like when the science teachers want to do a lab experience, they'll have a lab. They'll have some access to some STEAM opportunities. And in addition to the 5th graders, we would love to be able to take our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders outside for 10, 15 minutes or so, but we can't because during our lunchtime, the elementary kids are out in the playground. So we would love to be able to send them outside and run some energy out of them.
With busing more students, how does this improve safety and what is the additional cost?
I think Joe kind of addressed that earlier, and really I think the greater majority of our students are bused presently. So I don't know that the numbers will increase that greatly as far as increasing the need for busing. But our elementary kids that are from Glyndon that come to Glyndon, they will be on the north side of the building there in Glyndon. They will kind of be housed together. They won't go much further than that, and then they will get onto a bus with a bus aide. And that bus aide will follow them to the Dilworth site, make sure they get off safely, which they are reconfiguring the drop-off zone. Well, no, the drop-off zones remain the same on the west side of the building there. But then that bus aide at the end of the day will also keep account of the kids that need to get back to Glyndon and ride with them on the bus again to make sure they're safe, accounted for.
What is the plan for site safety and security if the referendum fails?
If the referendum does fail, I think we are going to have to follow some steps, and we're going to have to get back together and hopefully get some good community involvement, get some input on, what they did not like about this referendum and why they voted it down. And then we will have to get back to the drawing board and whether or not we just will need a lot of community input on that. And then we'll have to address different ways that we can address safety and security with the buildings we have currently.
So, part of the security issues stem from the structure of the building, but it also stems from the drop-off and pickup areas. So as far as plans, if the referendum fails, there are certain things we take safety seriously at DGF. It's not that we don't, but the opportunity with changing some of the structural elements of the school offers much better security with a single location. We do take safety seriously. There are some technological ideas, I suppose, that we could consider, but structurally is really the best method to address safety and security, especially when it comes to dropping off and picking up kids. Right now in Dilworth, on the south side, we've got buses and parents dropping off in some of the same areas. And that, if you look at your map of the Dilworth site, you can see there's a dedicated lane for parents to drop off their kids. And the idea there is that will remove kids from walking on buses in a much more secure area.
So as Amy had talked about, that if it does fail, we will have to go back to the drawing board and look at how can we make this work. Not only as far as busing, but the majority of you guys have been in our schools or are new to our district, but like all of the offices are right smack dab right in the school. And so you have to go down a long hallway before you even check into the office. And so that's a huge security issue when you don't have anybody stopping them right at that door. The access is just, it's already there before anybody would ever know that somebody was here that shouldn't be here. And so, you know, that's just such a huge security piece, is to move those offices out in the front like they should be and have those secure entrances so we don't have people coming into our buildings that should not be in our buildings. So again, if this does fail, that definitely will be something that has to be looked at. I'm not sure where the dollars would come from that. I don't know if we have any very rich people in our community that would love a wing and put your name on it, because we'd love to put somebody's name on there and claim it. So we can provide that service and that safety for our kids, because it is so important that that happens.
How can we increase enrollment at the high school to 150 per class when we currently are less than 150 per class and have 30 plus students in some classes with no expansion at the high school?
Want to repeat that one more time?
Yeah. How can we increase enrollment at the high school to 150 per class when we currently are less than 150 per grade and have 30 plus students in some classes with no expansion at the high school?
I'm going to ask Mr. Lepard to come up here and address that. He is our high school principal and can kind of go over the different types of scheduling they can do.
Okay, correct. We are pretty much full in our sections right now. The facility, I can give you a little timeline. 20 years ago, we had about 60 kids a grade. Now it's 100, 120, could be more, with the same size, same number of classrooms, same number of teachers. And so what do we do with our courses and what can we offer? Right now, with a master schedule, I'm pretty much stuck offering required courses and hardly any electives, because there just isn't the number of teachers and number of classrooms. One thing that'll happen with electives in 2 years is the Career Academy. That will help for sure, for our juniors and seniors and some sophomores. So that'll open up things for our electives for those kids, so which will trickle down and make more classrooms open within our building. So the Career Academy will be a big impact for our high school.
If the referendum passes and middle schoolers attend at school at the Glyndon site, which location would they practice for athletic extracurricular activities?
That is a great question. So it's actually been talked about. So if you imagine we've got 7th and 8th grade, if you look at volleyball currently, for example, we have 4 teams for 7th and 8th grade, 2 7th, 2 8. Same is true for girls basketball, same is true for boys basketball, just at the middle school alone. Football, 7th and 8th grade, we've teetered with the possibility we could have almost run 2 7th grade teams, but we were able to get by with one. Having said that, you look at the number of courts, this is why I mentioned I would gladly take another one if we're going to do that. The reality is football would be able to stay. So we have currently we actually have 2.5 football fields on the practice side. We could do some things behind the grandstand, but we could also utilize the old football field in Glyndon if we had to. So that could stay in-house. They could play their games. We go back to back 4:30 and 5:30. The harsh reality is we would not be able to house all the volleyball. We have 4 high school teams. We would have 4 middle school teams. That's 8 courts going as ones. We couldn't do that. The nice part is we're not lugging equipment. We currently run shuttles now, so there's no additional cost. We would shuttle over for practice at the Dilworth site. That would take the volleyball and that would be on the basketball. So they would be able to practice right after school. We have an early shuttle, we have a late shuttle currently going now. So we wouldn't see any difference. But yes, the students that come here in middle school would practice for certain sports over at the Dilworth site, mainly volleyball, boys and girls basketball.
Will any of the changes cause a reduction in staff and or support personnel?
Currently, if you look at what's going on at the Dilworth site, and I'll speak for the elementaries, the number of sections and the number of students we have in every section, we wouldn't. In fact, we've talked about this in admin meetings too. We wouldn't need a reduction in force. In fact, we would look to add probably some staff to fill some gaps with the number of students. So this wouldn't be one of those we're going to combine. We are going to be efficient, but we're going to be efficient to us does not mean we're cutting staff and we're saving that way because we do have the number of students and sections locked in and some room for some growth too if the residential catches up. So short answer, no, we would not be looking at cutting.
At the middle school level, we'll continue to run 6 sections due to our numbers, and so I do not see a cut there.
No cuts.
No cuts.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of flavor to that, I think administratively across the district, we are probably a little light on the administrative side as far as workforce. So we don't feel that, it doesn't seem like there would be a reduction in the number of administrative people.
There are no more questions, so if anyone has any more, they'd be very welcomed.
All right, well, we'd like to thank you for coming out as the school board and administration. We welcome you to come up to the boards afterwards. We'll be hanging around here for a little bit to answer any individual questions. Thank you, Mr. Marquardt, as always, for your wonderful students up here. Thank you all for being available tonight and helping us out. So thank you again for taking the time. We do appreciate you coming out to get your questions answered and to listen to this project. So have a nice evening.